Friday, June 17, a 34-year-old man was killed, with more than 10 gunshots, inside the Colmado El Marin bar, located in the Villa Esperanza neighborhood, in Caguas, Puerto Rico, the police reported. According to the news report, the events occurred around 11:35 p.m. and the victim was identified as Juan E. Fernandez Tirado, a resident of Caguas. The director of the Criminal Investigation Corps in that region, Carlos Alicea Contreras, explained that the crime occurred in the presence of a local employee, who was unharmed. The victim arrived at the business, buys a drink and asks for change, to play billiards, from a female employee, and a few minutes later, some shots are heard. The lady takes shelter, and when she leaves she sees the individual, on the ground. The employee did not see anything, and was the only one there. We are going to review the recordings of security cameras around the premises, and conduct interviews, the director said. With this crime, the total number of murders, recorded so far this year, increased to 272, 3 more than those reported for the same date, last year, according to the police.
Saturday, June 18, personnel from the police bureau arrested Josue Emanuel Nunez Pagan, known as Bemba, who is charged with murder and attempted murder for a shooting that allegedly occurred on June 13 in Yabucoa, Puerto Rico. The police commissioner, Colonel Antonio Lopez Figueroa, indicated, through written statements, that Nunez Pagan, 23, was arrested in Humacoa on Friday. Nunez Pagan, also known as Bemba, is accused of having shot Higinio Delgado Pinto and injured John Kenny Ortiz Castro in an incident recorded at a Yabucoa business. Reportedly, an argument occurred. The accused allegedly left the premises and later returned with a firearm and began firing. The motive has not been established. Bond was set at $2.1 million.
June 19, a man was shot to death at dawn, Sunday, in the Ernesto Ramos Antonini residential complex, in San Juan. According to the preliminary police report, the events were recorded at 3:50 a.m., near Building 55. Authorities were alerted, via the ShotSpotter system, to gunshots in the area. Upon arrival, officers found a man's bullet-ridden body, on the ground. The victim, who has not been identified, was described as having a tan complexion, black hair, 5 feet 5 inches tall, and weighing approximately 200 pounds. He was wearing a black shirt, long blue denim pant, and black sports shoes, according to police.
June 17, a man was killed Friday afternoon, after being shot at kilometer 2.0 of Highway 190 in Carolina, reported the police bureau. The preliminary report maintains that calls to the 911 emergency system alerted about a man with a gunshot wound on the highway. Upon arrival, the agents found the person, who has not been identified, with multiple bullet wounds in different parts of the body.
June 16, agents from the police department found the body of a man who, according to the preliminary investigation, died after being hit on the head with a blunt object. The preliminary report maintains that the back of the head of the victim, who has not been identified, has a wound consistent with a blow applied with great force. Calls to the 911 emergency system alerted the police, at 11:10 a.m., about a body, at the intersection of Parque and San Mateo Streets, in Santurce, Puerto Rico. Upon arrival at the scene, officers found the man, and verified that he had no vital signs. Personnel from the Homicide Division of the San Juan Criminal Investigation Corps are investigating the case as a murder.
All eyes are on the economy this week, as the Federal Reserve raised interest rate 0.75%, in hopes of easing inflation. The interest hike comes after a 40-year record high inflation rate. The stock market reacted by falling sharply, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average dipping below 30,000 points. Bitcoin fell below $18,000, from $65,000 peak. Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, the energy provider Luma, citing the rise in the cost of fuel, requested, on Wednesday, an increase of 17.1% in the energy rate for the months of July, August, and September, of 2022, and suggested government assistance programs for needy customers. The cost of electricity generation fuel in Puerto Rico has increased approximately 30% in the last quarter. This is obviously an alarming increase, and is the main reason why numbers we submitted to the Energy Bureau have increased, said Mario Hurtado, Chief Regulatory Officer at Luma Energy. Governor Pedro Pierluisi urged the legislature, later on Wednesday, to approve a bill that could stop Luma Energy from implementing rate hikes. Our bill is before the legislature to achieve relief in the cost of electricity by providing surplus funds from the State Insurance Fund to the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, Pierluisi said in a statement broadcast on his social networks. We ask legislators to take it up, with a sense of urgency, that our people deserve, to avoid another increase in energy cost, as a result of the rise in the cost of oil. The cost of groceries on the island are approximately 20% higher than the mainland when considering added shipping and import cost. The sales tax average is 11.5% on goods, with the exception of certain groceries, pharmaceuticals and necessities. For instance, sales tax on groceries is 1%, clothing, 6%, prepared food, 6%, prescription drugs are exempt, and non-prescription drugs are 6%. Rent costs have increased, but stayed below the national average, and although housing sales and prices peaked in 2021, it has seen a 7% downturn this year. As a global recession looms, Puerto Rico presently has 43.1% of its population living below the poverty line. Of that population, 57% are children. For comparison, the U.S. national poverty rate was drastically lower, at 13.1%. Poverty in Puerto Rico has become a chronic issue, as a long-term recession resulted in massive debt. According to economist Joseph Stiglitz, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2001, the recession that began in Puerto Rico in 2006 had contributing factors. First, as a territory, Puerto Rico is excluded from Section 9 bankruptcy laws. Being able to achieve statehood and restructure through bankruptcy would bring possible recovery. After Hurricane Maria, the population dwindled. Therefore, expected tax income was not realized. Some of the tax incentives were exploited by big corporations and did not benefit Puerto Rico. Microsoft, for example, created software with hundreds of workers in the States, copied the software onto disks with mere dozens of workers in Puerto Rico, and claimed that the profits from that software were earned in Puerto Rico. By establishing the ownership of intellectual property in Puerto Rico, without actually producing the goods on the island, Microsoft evaded taxes on billions of dollars in revenue. Stiglitz emphasized that Puerto Rico now exports more pharmaceuticals than any state, and is in a good position to amplify that advantage now. He added, identifying the advantages is key to long-term success. The island's natural advantages, the economist said, include location, lots of sun, which should provide cheap energy, natural beauty encouraging tourism, and opportunities for health tourism, in particular. Another advantage available to Puerto Rico is its connections with the United States. Stiglitz also mentioned benefits to Puerto Rico as being within the United States, as opposed to a foreign country.
June 14, Governor Pedro Pierluisi signed the measure that establishes a moratorium on the tax on gasoline and diesel, known as La Crudita, for a period of 45 days. The long-awaited temporary relief would be on the 16-cent tax on a gallon of gasoline, and the 4-cent tax on diesel. June 14, the authorities arrested one of the most wanted, at the federal level, and an alleged member of the criminal organization, led by Carlos Cruz, known as WASA. Ruben Figueroa Rodriguez, alias Gordo, had an arrest warrant for violations of multiple laws related to drug trafficking and weapons. Federal and state authorities claim on May 25 to have dismantled the powerful drug gang, led by WASA, known to have operated in 3 public housing estates since 2016, in the capital of San Juan. According to investigations, the gang would be linked to at least 20 murders, and to have moved $58 million in illegal drugs, in and out of Puerto Rico. The Federal Bureau of Investigation distributed images of 3 individuals belonging to this criminal gang, and for which they requested cooperation from citizens to achieve their captures. According to the Federal Security Agency, the individuals were identified as Luis M. Munoz Lopez, Cabaniel Colon Muniz, and Caramel Valcarthel Cruz. The public is reminded that these fugitives are presumed to be armed and dangerous, and should not be confronted, the FBI said in a written statement. Anyone with information, please call 787-987-6500, or leave a message online by visiting tips.fbi.gov.
June 18th, authorities captured a man whom had outstanding arrest warrants at the Luis Munoz Marine Airport on Saturday. Christian Rodriguez Mendez, 28, was wanted with 6 active arrest warrants for attempted murder, violations of the arms laws, controlled substances possession, and contempt. Bond was set at more than $1.5 million. The fugitive was nabbed while trying to enter Puerto Rico.
June 17, the Department of Justice confirmed that Judge Wilfredo Vieira, of the Carolina Court, determined cause for the arrest of Miguel Angel Rodriguez Naives for the murder of his ex-partner, Melissa Belenflu Allende, 42 years old, on June 25 of last year, at his residence in Loíza, Puerto Rico. The 39-year-old man was charged with first-degree murder, manipulation of the crime scene, and 4 charges under the arms law. The man was the one who alerted the authorities about the death of the victim, and claimed that it was a suicide. Later, the autopsy and evidence established that the gunshot wound to her head was not self-inflicted. The victim had previously placed a restraining order on the accused.
June 19th, the Department of Health reported an additional death, and 345 hospitalized by COVID-19. The deceased was 78 years old, and had not been vaccinated against the virus. Also, the positivity rate was placed at 30.94%. They also report up-to-date vaccinations are only at 41%. The total deaths are reported at 4,480, since the pandemic began, in March 2020.
In entertainment news, Jennifer Lopez, on the right, sang with her daughter Emma Muniz, on the left, during a gala at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. J.Lo surprised attendees at Dodger Stadium, in Los Angeles, last Thursday, June 16, not only by singing with her daughter Emma, on stage, but also by introducing her, using gender-neutral pronouns. Gender-neutral pronouns are words that don't specify whether the subject of the sentence is female or male. They, for instance, is a third-person pronoun that is gender-neutral. Other gender-neutral pronouns include them, this person, everyone, z, or her.
Thanks for watching. Here's your weather for the week. Be sure and follow us on Facebook for up-to-date news, weather, information, entertainment, tourism, viral videos and more. Search Puerto Rico English News, or follow the link in the description. Thanks for subscribing. Have an amazing week.